Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line as he does every Friday on the show. He works for Cinemablend.com and the universe. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
A lot, now that I apparently work for the universe, which honestly, I think that just might be my job title now. Mike Reyes, universal, I don't know, employee?
It's got to be like writer and universe attendant or something, something like that.
Universe attendant sounds like some real Loki stuff going on. I like that. Writer/universal continuity attendant. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Oh, wow. There you go. Well, Mike, this week we're going to dive right into things because we do have a lot of really good topics to get through. New movie-wise, would you say the big one is Shotgun Wedding?
I would say the big one, Shotgun Wedding. Yes, I would definitely say that's the big one. This was originally set for. Well, I only said it that way because I know we were talking about it off air, like to get the rundown set up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's just me goofing off. But
okay,
I would definitely say that's the big one because it was supposed to go to theaters. It is currently going to streaming this Friday on Prime Video.
Oh, okay, it is on Prime. What's this thing about? I'm guessing a shotgun wedding of some sort.
Yeah, of some sort. Because it is kind of odd because on one hand, Shotgun Wedding sounds like a badass title. On the other hand, it doesn't map up to the cultural definition where it's, a father wielding a shotgun forcing a man to marry his pregnant daughter.
Yeah.
This is actually a story about an engaged couple played by Jennifer Lopez and Josh Duhamel who are having a destination wedding. And, everything is supposed to be perfect. They're having some, typical last-minute arguments and what have you. And then armed pirates kind of ruin their big day and hold everybody hostage for reasons we do not quite know.
It's always those damn pirates.
You know what? You're going to be, your line is going to age pretty well considering some of the story content of the film involving those pirates. But what's really interesting is, do you know who was originally supposed to star in the lead?
No clue.
Armie Hammer.
Really?
Armie Hammer was cast, and it was like I think it was shortly before filming. The scandal about his texts and his cannibalistic fantasies came out. So they ditched him, and then Josh Duhamel came in. Although from reading further back, it looks like Ryan Reynolds was the first lead. He's still an executive producer, but then he dropped out. They got Armie Hammer, and then Armie Hammer was out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Shotgun Wedding coming out on Prime Video this weekend. What else we got?
Aren't you going to ask me how the movie is?
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Of course I'm going to ask you.
This one.
How was the movie?
Well, it's a middle. I think it's pretty middle of the road.
Okay.
It's fun, but I think it could have been more fun. It could have went more outrageous. In terms of rom-coms, I think this is going to be a pretty big success. It should be a pretty big success, not only because it's actually, getting a jump on the Valentine's Day weekend market, which is going to be dominated by Magic Mike's Last Dance, but this is going to be on streaming. So couples are going to have more access to this. Friday night my wife and I will do this sometimes, where Friday night or Saturday night, we'll go on a Netflix or a Prime and look for a new movie and say, hey, this is number one, or this looks mildly interesting. Let's watch that. And this is something that mixes action with a romantic comedy. It doesn't skew too heavily towards either side. So you like your action, you're going to get it. You like comedy and romance, you're going to get that. I just wish it went a little harder.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line to talk about movies. So Shotgun Wedding could go a little bit harder. It could be double-barreled.
Yes. Yeah, it should be firing on both barrels, but, one shell's better than none.
There you go. It's birdshot. We'll put it
Two
that way.
shells way up.
What else we got this week? Infinity Pool? What's that?
This is a movie I really want to go see, and it's just had its premiere at Sundance. It's going to be in theaters this weekend. Stars Alexander Skarsgård from True Blood, and among other projects, and Mia Goth, who was in Pearl and X last year. And it is about a writer who stumbles into some freaky stuff after an accidental murder exposes him to a weird concept of justice. And I'm just going to be vague with it because I kind of want people's jaws to drop with this movie.
Okay.
But even if I was to go further, or you go watch the trailer, apparently people's jaws are still dropping with this one. Like, it is messed up. It is Brandon Cronenberg, who is the director, and he is the son of David Cronenberg, who gave us such wonderful movies as the remake of The Fly, Videodrome. Last year he did Crimes of the Future, and Brandon himself is pretty messed up as well because he has this wonderful movie that I highly recommend on Hulu right now called Possessor, and they actually have the unrated cut available because he ran into the same problems with Infinity Pool. He was originally given an NC-17 for his movie, and he had to cut it to make it an R-rated film. But I have no doubt they'll release it in an unrated cut, just like they did with Possessor. And if it's any bit as messed up as that movie, I'm happy. I will be very happy to see this. We need something to shake things up.
All right. We'll talk more about it after you go and see it. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. A couple other movies, not as well known or as big. I don't know what the proper way to say it is, but what are the other couple movies coming out this weekend?
That I believe those are the movies that come out this weekend.
What did you?
Oh wait, no.
Yeah. We talked about this.
Yeah, we did. But, I'm just so in the moment talking to you that maybe I forget little things. But this isn't that little because Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill have teamed up to do a movie together. And it's going to be on Netflix this weekend, and it's called You People. And I want you to guess what this movie's about just knowing that.
It's got to be like Eddie Murphy versus, like Jonah Hill says something that gets himself into trouble, or am I way off?
Not quite. Jonah Hill wants to marry Eddie Murphy's daughter.
Okay.
If I remember this correctly. And it's basically going to be like a clash of the clash of lifestyles, I guess, because you have the two sets of parents. You have Eddie Murphy and Nia Long playing parents to Lauren London's character, and then you've got Julia Louis-Dreyfus and David Duchovny playing Jonah Hill's parents, and they're supposed to be like the relaxed, like woke sort of hippies versus the Eddie Murphy's like sort of more uptight and straight-laced family.
Oh, really? Okay, that actually sounds kind of awesome.
I have not heard much about it.
Okay.
But that's only because I haven't really read too much. I haven't read up on it too much. I don't even know if I just know that we're looking at Rotten Tomatoes is apparently not a huge fan of this film, if the current ratings are anything to be believed. How's a good cast here? I mean, Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill alone, I'm interested in that.
I'm over Jonah Hill at this point.
I'm not, because he's kind of been trying to change his life. He's been trying to change his act and how much he really does.
I get
in the entertainment.
I get all that stuff, but his movies are very hit or miss for me.
Got it.
It's just he's one of those guys, and I'm probably not alone. I mean, maybe on this one, but there's there's certain actors out there that I'm just very hit or miss on what they do. And if they're in it, it's kind of a struggle for me to get excited about it.
Gotcha.
So I'm a horrible human being is what I'm coming down to.
We're just going to leave it there. Totally killing it.
I'm sorry. Jonah Hill is just not one of my favorites. I don't think sorry, I have a preference. My apologies.
You People will be available on Netflix this weekend.
Are you a big Jonah Hill guy?
Not huge, but I do like the dude.
Okay.
And he obviously was someone that got a lot of play in like the early to mid-aughts because of Superbad.
Yeah.
And
I love
naturally
Superbad.
That's going to lead you to have some movies that aren't as good as the others. But lately, he's kind of fallen into working with Netflix because he has a documentary about his therapist. And I haven't seen it yet. It's called Stutz. And that's really looked genuinely moving, and it looked like a good change of pace for him. And then also there's a movie of his that he directed a couple of years ago that I really liked called Mid-90s, where it was basically just chronicling a teenage boy or a soon-to-be teenage boy growing up in the late 90s or mid-90s, because the film's called Mid-90s. But it was really good, and that kind of fell under the radar. But I can see where you're coming from, because obviously you make something like Superbad, and then everybody wants you in their movie. Everybody wants to be the next Superbad.
Yeah.
So they want you to be part of that because that's brand recognition.
So, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joins me every Friday on the show to talk about movies. That kind of does it for the movies coming out this weekend, correct?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically the long and the short of it. Two streamers and one big theatrical,
Okay.
which seems like a cozy weekend. I mean, we're still early in the year, so it's going to be thin, and you're going to probably see some movies having really good holds if they make it, especially because Avatar is currently running on, I forget how many weeks it's been out, but some are saying that next week might be the weekend it gets knocked from number one because of Knock at the Cabin, the new M. Night Shyamalan Dave Bautista movie. But we'll talk about that next week along with 80 for Brady.
Real quick, if I can make one recommendation to people for actual movies before we get to movie news and TV news and all that.
Of course.
We finally watched Bullet Train, and that's legitimately the best movie I've seen in a long time.
Fuck yes, Bullet Train is so good. Oh.
The first 20 minutes were a little slow, and it was funny. My wife was telling her friend, she sent out a text because they're always talking about different movies to watch, and that sort of thing. And
well, the thing is, I think the thing with Bullet Train is it's a lot like, what movie this reminded me of?
What?
And I was so happy about it? Smokin' Aces.
Okay.
It is like Smokin' Aces kind of mixed with Murder on the Orient Express just because of the train aspects and how that all factors in. But it's definitely a Smokin' Aces sort of movie where you've got all these colorful hit person characters and they're all squaring off against each other, and there's just so much blood and fun and excitement, and
it's wonderful.
There's no stopping it once it picks up. That's if I'm not Bullet Train is a fast-moving streak of excitement
with no stops.
Hop on board. What'd you say?
With no stops.
No brakes on this movie. Hop on board.
First class all the way. Anyways, if you get a chance and you're looking for something to watch this week and you haven't seen Bullet Train, make sure you check it out. Over on the side of news and all this, something we didn't talk about off the air, but I want to bring it up. The Rick and Morty stuff this week took an interesting turn.
Yeah, that did indeed. The short version is Justin Roiland, the creator of Rick and Morty, as well as the voices of Rick and Morty. I'm sure he has other roles on that show that I'm not mentioning at this point, but he was accused of domestic abuse. And as a result, Adult Swim announced that they were ending their association with him. Season 7 is still going to continue. The roles are going to be recast. And then, if I read correctly, Justin Roiland also resigned from Squanch Games, which is his gaming production company, or I believe it's his, or at least he's part of it.
Yeah.
Because they put out a big game that was getting pretty big notices this year, High on Life, which is it's basically a Rick and Morty sort of adventure that you would expect.
Is it the shooter game?
Yeah.
It looks... This is going to sound bad. It looks amazing because it's so different, and it is pulled straight out of Rick and Morty almost with some of the voice stuff. But the show, okay, so not a great dude. They're going to decide to move on and keep going with the show. On one hand, this is a style show that you can revoice something and it would fit completely into the universe because you could just start following a different Rick and Morty.
Oh, yeah. You could just totally ice the original Rick and Morty and then, here's other Rick and Morty from universe whatever.
I'm in the camp of I think they should have just called it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually do. But the thing is, what I'm thinking happened is season 7 is so far in the process.
Yeah.
That Adult Swim is we really don't want, they were caught in a bad situation where it's we don't want to pull these jobs from all these other people. We don't want to scrap all of this. But at the same time, we obviously can't work with him anymore.
Yeah.
And they made a call, and I think it's a pretty good call. However, that was something that's still up in the air is what's going to happen with Justin Roiland's other show, Hulu Solar Opposites, which there's no word I don't think there's been any word as to how or what's going to happen with that.
You either love that show or hate it.
Some people think it just might get canceled altogether. That's something to look out for in this whole situation.
Otherwise, in the world of news, moving on, I just want to bring it up because I am a fan of Rick and Morty. It's going to be interesting.
It's a big story.
Yeah. So on the more maybe kind of positive thing, some more details came out about the Jeremy Renner stuff. about how he actually kind of was trying to save his nephew from the snowplow, and that's how he got ran over.
Tell me a little more about that, because I'm not quite as read into that as you
The
are.
way I read it, there was some problems with the brake. It started going. He basically kind of pulled somebody out of the way and got pulled underneath the tracks. Yeah, but he was definitely trying to keep his nephew from getting harm. Again, that's the kind of short version of it. But we were talking before this, and what were you saying that there's stuff about he might get stories go around, possibly completely fabricated or from bad sources that he might lose his legs or paralyzed or whatever. What was it?
There was a disturbing amount of headlines that I saw that I think it came from my Google feed. You know, like you swipe left and then the Google feed comes up on like your homepage.
Yeah.
And then just like a whole bunch of stories come up. And then I noticed something saying, Jeremy Renner's friends are worried he may never walk again and he might have to have his legs amputated.
Oh, boy.
So obviously you see something like that. It's like, if that's a true update, we're going to have to run that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to look it up to be sure. And sure enough, it was like a lot of non-sourced or like very like it did not look like it was reputable at all.
Okay.
And so I didn't bring it up with management. And then sure enough, I think it was this week or fairly recently, footage has surfaced of Jeremy Renner's legs intact. I think he was having like a physical therapy session in bed and someone was moving his legs.
Yeah, they're doing that for atrophy stuff because in this, long story short, like when I blew out my knee, because of some workman comp issues and all that, I had to sit for 2.5 weeks. And 2.5 weeks, my leg that I was in a sort of brace that you can't move, I lost 8 centimeters of size around my thigh from not moving. Yeah, so that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep them from doing atrophy or losing that muscle mass. Because you either it'll sound bad, you use it or you lose it.
No, that's exactly. I mean, come on, they introduced that concept in The Matrix.
Yeah. Like
if people didn't know about it before then, that was like, I'm sure it's been mentioned in other shows. I'm sure it was something.
Well, astronauts go through it.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why they have to keep exercising.
So, anyways, we wish our best to Jeremy in his situation. Hopefully, he gets through this. Boy, that's been almost a month ago now, hasn't it?
Yeah, like it was around New Year's, I want to say, or Christmas. I think it was around New Year's that it first broke.
Yeah.
And again, just best wishes to him and his family for a speedy recovery, and it's good to see him in good spirits.
Yeah. A couple other quick hits before we'll wrap up with The Last of Us because Mike is really all about. He's got a major fungi for that.
And also, B-sox mentioned it in our pre-show rundown, so we basically agreed to talk about it.
Yeah, I know, but it was just funny the way I said it. So a couple new trailers coming out. One, if you're a fan of Star Trek, they're going to be having the last trailer for Picard during the AFC Championship game this weekend. Apparently, it's going to be during halftime, so that's kind of awesome.
For a moment, it made me wonder why that was being done during a football game. But then I realized it's probably because the game
CBS
is more than likely running on CBS.
Yep.
And CBS is going to be pushing for Paramount Plus.
Yep.
Which, that's the way it goes. That's the way it should go. I mean, that's how America does it, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
Good.
I'm so glad you picked up on that.
Oh, you're damn right I did. Tony Stark, Iron Man. I
figured you.
I used to have a radio sweeper where it would be like B-sox. It does the line and then, afternoons, 95 KGGO, that sort of thing. But yeah, I had that as a line for that. So.
Oh, I like that.
I should play it for you. I used to make a ton of those, and my favorite one was always using Futurama lines.
Ooh, I'm sure you used a lot of Zap Brannigan.
There's a lot of Zap. Surefire way to a woman's hearts and parts beyond. I speak, of course, of karaoke. This is going to be one hell of a bowel movement. He'll be lucky if he has any bones when it's done.
We need that for our show.
Oh, it's so much fun. Anyways, we'll get a new trailer for Picard this week, and I'm super stoked about it because I'm a Trekkie, but it is what it is. The other movie trailers that came out today, as in Thursday when we're talking, I want to talk about the Netflix one first. We have a ghost. It's Anthony Mackie and David Harbour, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, I need to see this trailer now that you've mentioned it, because I saw that it popped up today.
Do you want to watch it real quick, and we'll do some time travel here?
Sure.
Right.
I will do just that for the adoring public. The adoring public that likes to listen to the show. You're listening to 95.5 KGGO.
You got the number wrong, Kiff. All right, we're back. Time travel completed. I'm covered in ice now.
That's why you don't travel without a capsule.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, random thing about like time travel and space travel.
Yeah.
I found out, so I've been listening to a lot of, there's a guy that's on Skinwalker Ranch. It's a show on history. His name's Dr. Travis Taylor, and he's a very, very smart guy. Got a lot of doctorates, and like when he goes and does like alien stuff, he does it in a practical way. It's not just, oh my God, we go from step A to aliens. Right, in his explanations of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, during a podcast, he was talking about stuff he sees in movies like that that don't make sense to him. And he goes, you know what the one thing people get wrong about space every single time?
That it smells like burnt steak?
No, that too. But and he actually made fun of the guy who owns the History Channel. Was like one of the producers that brought back Lost in Space for Netflix. He like bought that whole guy's like catalog, so he was the reason it came through. And he said most of that movie is done really in a very well done way, with how the military would move and all this. But he goes, there was one part, and it's when people are exposed to space, what happens? He said nobody would freeze in space; you would actually heat up.
Oh wow!
It was really interesting stuff, and I had no idea. But he goes, yeah, there's a scene where they're in a box, or like you said, a capsule, and they're trying to get from one place to another, and they're exposed to space. And he said they would have actually heated up a ton because there's no way, there's nothing, there's no air or wind for the heat to conduct away from your body, so you would superheat.
Damn, I never knew that.
Yeah, so he goes, that's the part that drives me nuts in every movie. And this guy's also a sci-fi writer, believe it or not. He's a really interesting dude. If you ever get a chance to watch anything about or just want something to listen to him. His name's Dr. Travis Taylor, and the best thing about him is when he gets excited, the Southern comes out in him a little bit, because he's from the South, and like his answer is always, "Let's shoot a rocket at it." But anyways, that's neither here.
How do you not with an accent like that?
Oh,
like,
it's so.
That just sounds like it'd be so much fun to hear.
Oh, he's great. That Skinwalker Ranch, it's an easy show to make fun of. It's a lot of fun though. But he's one of those guys that it's not like that Giorgio Tsoukalos who it's instantly aliens. Travis actually goes through the process of going, okay, what could make this happen, or what could this be, before he'll go, it has to be aliens, right?
Right.
So anyway, boy, we really veered there. Came out of the time portal a little wonky there. All right, so you watched We Have a Ghost, Netflix, David Harbour, Anthony Mackie. Mackie. That's kind of a fun way to say his name.
Anthony Mackie.
Anyways, what'd you think of it?
It looks interesting. It could go either way. I'm surprised that they put David Harbour in like a non-speaking role, but that'll probably be all the more interesting to talk to him about. Especially because Violent Night just hit streaming. Yeah. So it'll be very interesting if people sort of latch onto that even more. And then, like, about a month later, you're going to get, like, I think this is supposed to be out end of February on Netflix. You're just sort of jumping tones. You know what it kind of looked like to me? It looked like one of those movies that it's either supposed to be a comedy and we're going to get a lot of funny stuff, or it's going to be a different type of movie and they just showed us all the funny parts. Yeah, it could go it could go either way. And it would be really nice to have just a nice solid comedy as we're in, again, these really weird months of the calendar. So the other trailer that we got today, well, at least the big one, new Shazam trailer. Yeah. Shazam Fury of the Gods has released a second trailer, which was much more serious than I expected. Like, especially considering the last Shazam trailer that dropped. So basically we get more, there's a little more backstory. You've got Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu as the daughters of Atlas, and they're facing off against the Shazam family, with Zachary Levi coming back as Billy Batson's alter ego Shazam. And, it starts off fun enough. Zach Levi gets kicked across the street by Helen Mirren, and he calls the dragon Khaleesi.
That was right. I actually did laugh
serious.
at that.
Well, it's cute, but then it gets serious where it's like the Shazam family's powers are being drained, and he kind of doesn't want this gig anymore, and now it looks like he might sacrifice himself or come close to sacrificing himself to protect everyone, and it leads to this huge fight in Citizens Bank ballpark in Philly.
Yeah. I still haven't seen the first one, so I don't know how to really judge this.
First one's on HBO Max, if I'm not mistaken. It's a lot of fun. I think that's one of the DC movies I really like.
I'm interested to see how this goes because of how much DC is changing and how this was kind of rolling before some of those changes happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is sort of the talking gorilla in the room for not only Shazam, Fury of the Gods, but also The Flash and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Yeah.
These are films that were well into production and planned out before James Gunn and Peter Safran took over for DC Films. And now the question is not only are these actors going to maintain their roles, but where are these films going to fit in the continuity of things? Because we've already seen how flexible a fully or an almost fully finished film is in the eyes of Warner Brothers Discovery as they shelved Batgirl, which was pretty much done.
Yeah.
And not only had Brendan Fraser, but also had Michael Keaton's Batman making an appearance.
Yeah.
So that was going to connect to The Flash where he comes back. And then there was allegedly a cameo that he was going to have in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. But then all these release date shuffles and deck chairs being shuffled with executives and mergers and everything has just really left this all in a mess. So on one hand, it's easy to sell this movie because it's Shazam. If you like Shazam, it looks like you're going to like this. But on the other hand, it's kind of hard to sell people on, okay, go to the theater to see this movie, even though you don't know where it's going to go and where it's going to fit in with everything else.
It's kind of interesting you brought up the part of, whether or not he sacrifices himself or whatnot. I mean, do some of these movies, do you have one of the heroes make one of those sacrifices? Because they're not coming back, and that's how the series ends,
But at the same time, I don't think they have to be committed to that, because if they really want to, and I think it's the reason that they've been pushing Flashpoint the Flash as much as they are, Flashpoint is probably going to be the thing that could very easily overwrite all of this. That could just easily snap new dimension, new Flash, new heroes, Papa John's.
That's exactly right. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line talking about movies. All right, let's get to the big one. Not really a movie, but it is kind of made in the way of a movie, I'd guess. I like these shows because it is kind of a little bit more like a movie, just broke up into pieces. But The Last of Us, we got our next episode this past weekend. Episode 3 will be coming out this weekend, which you said your buddy gets early access, and he said this one's going to really tell if fans are going to be able to watch this, if they're like the game, whether they like the series or something like that, right?
That's what I've heard. I don't know what sort of embargo is up on that, but that's all I'll say. It's not even really that spoilery. And he's put it out in the public, so I'm assuming it's okay, but I won't name names just in case.
No, we're not going to. Of course we're not going to name names.
Yeah.
I want rumors and shadow play here.
Basically, from what I've heard, that is, because we were talking about it recently, and we were talking about the first 2 episodes, and he's actually finished the first game. I'm still in the middle of working my way through it, but apparently this episode 3, the one that's coming up this Sunday, is going to be the one that really splits the crowd, allegedly.
So, for those of you playing along at home this past weekend, if you haven't seen episode 2, there is a moment in it that is very different than in the game. And I actually listened to a little bit of the podcast about why they changed it. And it was a very, very...
It's such a good podcast.
It is, but it was such a good explanation of why they did it.
I need to go back and listen to this week's episode because I haven't listened to this week's podcast. I did watch the episode. It's just, Sunday night, you're watching the episode, and then it's like we watched it later in the night, so it was bedtime at that point. Like, okay, I'm not going to stay up for another hour, but obviously I'm going to have to listen to it because they go into some really good detail, even with that first episode, and explaining why they opened the show the way they did with that first, that prologue from the 60s.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to hear what they have to say about this episode, but I'm still very excited about this show as it progresses.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very well done. Again, I've said it a million times. I'm not a big zombie guy, but so far I'm okay with this. I don't know. I don't know how to explain. I just like it. I like Pedro. I like the girl. I've liked the setup. The world building is really done well in this. So
yeah. It's one of the most impressive HBO series I've seen in a while.
So that means their 7th season will be garbage.
I really hope not, because I don't even know if they'll get to 7 seasons. That was another discussion that my friends and I had where, with the pacing, is this going to be one of those scenarios where it's like they don't want to expand too much from what happened in the games.
Yeah.
They obviously want to do it differently, but they don't want to expand too much outside of the lore. So this could be a scenario where they make 2 seasons, and then if a third game comes up, they make a season of that. But it could be a case where you cover both games in single seasons, and that's it.
Yeah. Which I think that'd be. I haven't played the games. There are a couple games I'd probably give a try. I've seen some stuff on YouTube that the gameplay, and it looks pretty cool. So
yeah, no, the first one's I definitely recommend the first one. I haven't touched the second one yet, so I can't really say much about that. But it's definitely good. Yeah.
You know what I have been seeing on social media more and more lately?
What?
Have you seen, what's the name of the fungus in the series?
Cordyceps.
So people are posting more and more pictures because it's a real concept. It's a real fungus, and it really does take over creatures. And, right now it only takes over like insects and stuff. But I've seen more and more people posting pictures of real life animals, like, insects and stuff that have been taken over by cordyceps.
Oh yeah, no, it is a very real threat, and they addressed that when the game came out, and then now it's even like, especially with that opening monologue for the first episode, just sort of putting it in people's minds. It's like, look,
this is real. Here's real pictures.
This is real. This is something that could happen, and if we're not careful, it just might.
Yeah, there's this stuff just grown out of none of them are like, zombie killing, that's kind of way like in the deal, but like,
no,
you see this fungus growing out of stuff, and it's like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, well, that just might be another adaptation that it takes on in the fictional world because of taking over human hosts.
Yep. So, anywho, all right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joins me every Friday on the show to talk about movies. Mike, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy The Last of Us this weekend, and stay safe, and all that.
Yeah. Wow. We just really petered out. You want to go back and try that again?
No, I was gonna make a quarter. I couldn't remember the name of the fungus again.
Ladies and gentlemen, the word of the week is cordyceps.
Cordyceps. I was gonna make a joke and I lost the word. I'm like, fuck.
And you can literally buy cordyceps at Whole Foods.
Really?
Well, yeah, because it's a type of mushroom.
No.
Obviously, if it's a certain, the viral, I think it's different from the viral form. I don't know the big difference. I just know it is. That's a genus or it's a type of mushroom. And yeah.
Okay.
So cordyceps now available by you.